Another story from a legend, this time it's Shaquille O'Neal, hinting that the NBA draft might not be as pure as we've been led to believe. Shaq made some eye-opening comments recently on a podcast while discussing the NBA draft and the Dallas Mavericks landing the number 1 pick. It seemed strange to him, especially since it came not long after they traded away Luka Doncic. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's also a little too convenient. Then Shaq shared a personal story, one that dates back to his own draft in 1992. And what he said? It'll raise some eyebrows. He recalled a strange interaction he had with former NBA Commissioner David Stern before the draft even happened. Stern asked him if he'd like to play in where it's hot or cold. Shaq didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, it feels to him like he was the actual person choosing where to play, and not the team choosing him. Let me show you that clip so you can hear it straight from Shaq and judge for yourself. But first, welcome, my name is Paul, and this is The Basketball Show, where I talk today's NBA, current events, news, players, and more. All completely unbiased, even though some people disagree, because any opposing opinion to weak people is always hating. Truth is truth, and I try to stand by that.
I don't know if you heard this story, but in 1992, the draft was in June or something. I meet Mr. Stern in March, and he says to me, "Hey, no, you are. Can't wait for you to come to the NBA." And he pulls me to the side. "You want to play where it's cold or where it's hot?" Yeah, he did. He asked me that, and I was like, "Hot." And he smiled, and I smiled, and then a couple of days later, they had the draft thing, and the top 3 things, and then Minnesota was number 3. I was like, and then Charlotte was number 2, and then Orlando, Florida was number 1. I was like, I didn't think anything about it, but you hear a lot of these conspiracy theories, and there's a lot of situations that could make these things sound good and sound true. Like, okay, Dallas gets rid of one of the best players, but we're getting a new one. Ding, 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 ding. So I don't want to use the word conspiracy theory, but it's very interesting how it all played out.
Now you've got to admit, that was a little weird. Shaq said Stern personally asked him where he'd like to play, pretty much choosing by where it's hot or where it's cold. The Orlando Magic, just 3 years removed from being an irrelevant expansion team, magically win the number 1 pick in the 92 draft. A young Shaq lands in sunny Florida, and boom, the Magic are relevant overnight, almost like it was planned that way. And let's be real, that's not the only time something like this has ever happened. Let's look at some other suspicious coincidences in the NBA draft history. In 2010, LeBron James leaves the Cleveland Cavaliers in the decision. A year later, the Cavs win the number 1 pick and take Kyrie Irving. A team devastated by the loss of his hometown superstar gets a franchise-saving number 1 pick immediately. Fast forward to today, the Dallas Mavericks trade away Luka Doncic, a generational player, young. Fans erupt in frustration, accusing the front office of sabotaging the team, and now, boom, they win the first pick and are set to draft Cooper Flagg, who just so happens to be a generational talent himself, or at least has the potential to be so. Let me ask you, where else does a player like Cooper Flagg fit better than in Texas? It's fate, or is it optics control? And it's not just Shaq raising questions. The whispers go a long time way back to the infamous Patrick Ewing draft in '85. That's when conspiracy theories about the lottery first took off. There's a theory that David Stern was able to recognize the Knicks envelope in that draft, supposedly because it had a bent corner or was frozen. Either way, it's believed that Stern deliberately selected that envelope to send Ewing, the biggest star in college basketball, to the NBA's biggest market, New York City. Was it about basketball, or was it more about business? Now, fast forward nearly 40 years and fans still ask the same question. Is the NBA draft rigged? And we're not alone. Just recently, LeBron James himself posted a cryptic tweet about this year's draft lottery results. While he didn't say it directly, It sure sounded like he was implying something fishy happened to ensure Cooper Flagg would end up in Dallas. Funny, coming from the same LeBron James who last year saw his son Bronny James get selected 55th overall in the NBA draft and somehow walk away with a guaranteed 4-year contract worth millions. Yes, he got selected 55th overall, but normally he wouldn't get selected at all. He was a second-round pick who didn't have anything on his resume to warrant even being considered to be drafted at all. He lands a guaranteed deal in a spot with his father's team. Does that qualify as rigged by LeBron's standard? Because I bet you, without LeBron's influence, a different player would have been selected, and he wouldn't have gotten a 4-year guaranteed contract for sure. You tell me, does that happen to anyone else? So when Shaq, a Hall of Famer with no reason to stir controversy, says something didn't feel right, maybe we should listen. Because when you stack all the moments together, Shaq's David Stern story, Ewing's envelope story, LeBron leaving Cavs, and then they automatically get a #1 pick, Luka traded, Dallas lands Cooper Flagg, Bronny James drafted by LeBron's team. It starts to feel like too many coincidences in the league that thrives on storylines, media hype, and market relevance. Now, does this mean the draft is 100% rigged? Not necessarily, but it does mean it's worth questioning. We will never know the truth though. Maybe the NBA just nudges the outcomes toward what's best for business. Maybe it's pure luck. Maybe it's somewhere in between. But the more stories like Shaq's that come out, the harder it is to believe it's all just due to chance. So what do you guys think? Is the NBA draft truly fair and random? Or has it always been a little too convenient when the league needs to repair a market, save a franchise, or build the next big story? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button if you think Shaq's onto something. Subscribe for more breakdowns just like this one. Consider becoming a member of the channel to support, and I'll catch you in the next episode of The Basketball Show. Take care.
Spinning the drum. About 6 turns, I think.
The team whose logo is in this envelope will have the first pick in the NBA draft.